actually here. How you guys doing? Vasily here. I have a couple showings in Manhattan today, so I'm all dressed up, and I think it's about time to make this video on how to live between two states so you could save on taxes, make more net income, live a better lifestyle, always live in the kind of climate you want to live in, lower your expenses. I'm going to tell you basically how you could kind of cut your rent in half doing this, and how to travel very efficiently, how to almost get anywhere in the United States for under $100. If you're going from New York to Texas, you could probably do it under $40. This is the American Tourister Underseater. It was about $70, but already off a couple flights, you'll save your money not bringing a carry-on onto Spirit Airlines. So we're gonna go into this. I'll have a link down below. We're gonna open it up and show you guys what can fit in there. Also, you're probably thinking car, right? What to do about the car if you're living between two states? I'm gonna talk about that, stay tuned. I wanna bring out my computer because I'm gonna need a calculator and I couldn't find one. But just for the record, it fits in there, okay? With all the other stuff. They're not gonna weigh this. This is a personal item. So if you're flying internationally, almost every airline will allow you a personal item and a carry-on. If you're flying domestically, almost always allowed a personal item, which is like a bag. This is technically just a bag, like a computer bag. So it's not even a carry-on. So there you go. For the record, it fits. And we have just under an hour to do this. I think we could get it done within 50 minutes and then I gotta go. So let's start off with the basics. This is gonna be like flag theory as it's understood internationally, but bringing it down to a domestic level within your country. So baby steps towards that goal, right? I'm still contemplating if I'm gonna leave the United States in the future or if I'm just gonna live on a farm in Texas. But baby steps towards becoming more free as a person. So traditional flag theory, how does it go? You have three things here. So these are travel points. Residence, typically, like I said, this is used for countries, but you could use it in the States. Business, recreational, where you're going on your vacations, where your business is located, and where your legal residence is located. A month after I landed in Houston, I was actually able to get an ID. You can get the ID within basically a month. You just need to supply mail, some kind of proof that you've been there for a couple weeks maybe. So the moment a month passed by, I took my earliest pieces of mail and I just applied for the ID and they gave me it. I think they gave me a temporary one on the spot and then the real one mailed in like a week or two. And I had to surrender my New York ID, which I proudly did. So residence, in this case, Texas, but we're going to assume any zero income tax state. Business, you don't have to go by these rules, but my business happens to be in New York. Most of it is now in Texas. In terms of business, let's just assume your business is in New York. What can you do here? Residence in Texas, business in New York. How do you mitigate the taxes? So what you do is you sign up for a Texas office. Your profession might be different. It might be a different course of action. But just to handle the income part, we'll get into all the other parts, but just to handle the income part. If you sign up for an office here, right? So you have an office, and you move it here. So hey, I'm new to Texas, I'd like to join your office. Could even just start off as a referral agent, and then you get your New York checks sent over as a referral to the Texas office. And so now all your income is routed through Texas. It's that easy. I mean, you got to pay a bunch of fees. For Texas, you got to pass a 180-hour course. It's actually the biggest course in the United States. Somehow I got it done in 2 to 3 weeks. It was insane. Okay, so that's obviously a big part. But Florida is only 40 hours, I believe. So Florida, you could easily get your license there and just get all your checks reverted to the Florida office. And now it's Florida income. Even if it's coming from New York, the income, where is it actually coming from? It's coming from the Florida office or the Texas office. It could even come from another country, I think. It all depends, as far as I understand, on the actual office that is giving you the check. If an office in Texas is giving you the check, it's Texas income. That's the money part. And as for recreation, this is optional. Honestly, I'm always enjoying my time, no matter where I am. I'm happy if I'm in Texas. For me, that's almost like leisure. Beautiful environment. It's always 70 degrees, and I just get my work done so much quicker. But my girlfriend lives in California, so for me, that's going to Cali. It could be a couple weeks. it could be a month, and that's where this really comes in. Traveling between these states just to bring your bare necessities and do it at a minimum cost, right? And you might even be able to do it for free. I'll show you how. So let's say you're moving to Texas. What are you gonna do? Maybe you're 21 years old like me, you don't have much rental history or any of that. You get an Airbnb, you rent out a room. My rent came out to $700 a month. And now here's the beauty of it. You don't have to live there the whole entire year. You just gotta be in New York for less than 183 days, okay? So as long as you could only be in New York for that amount of time, there's really no problem, right? You don't have to live in Texas full time. That's what I did, right? I flew back. And then I'm gonna go back in, right now I'm thinking September, but I might go to Greece with my family, which extends my time here in New York, which is great because I save on rent. I don't have to be in Texas. I don't have to be in Texas at all. I could be there for 1 month as long as I'm not in New York for 183 days. So understand that. There's many ways to leverage yourself around the politics. Basic numbers, you're going to Texas for 6 months and you're going to New York for 6 months. So instead of paying 700 times 12, like I said, I Airbnb'd a room. This was in the Greater Third Ward, right in the midst of development, actually. It used to be the most dangerous neighborhood in the United States, and now they are massively developing the area, and it's 10 minutes away from downtown Houston. It's just a great place to live, and it's very cheap. Also, a lot of real estate opportunities that you'll see firsthand that you would not have known if you didn't go there yourself. But anyways, 700 times 12. Let's assume you did try to live there the whole year. 8,400. Now, we're going to have to compare this to the tax savings, of course. I think if you were making $100,000 and New York was taxing you, I think that's still 6%. Okay, we're using rough estimates here. It's okay, right? It's not going to make a drastic difference unless you're in the millions, in which case, sorry, I should have came more prepared. But if you were living there the whole year, your rent would almost be equal to the taxes you're paying in New York. And so there's not much savings except for gaining more freedom, right? At least instead of paying taxes, you're living on your own. But if you just do it for half the year, so maybe that comes out to 4,200. So you are making a savings then. If you're living there for half the year, just based on the rent, which is your biggest cost, from my experience. I only spend like $30 a week on groceries. I live a very simple lifestyle. Also, you got to take into account if you have a car, that's a big expense. I experienced that for the first time, paying insurance. But $4,000, $4,200 is your rent expense, and your tax liability to New York would have been, let's just say $7,000 if you're making $100,000 a year. And if you're not, just get a cheaper rent, right? Just lower your cost of living. That's all you got to do for the meantime until you get up there, right? And it's totally fine. Get a room that's not as good. In Austin, Texas, I actually found something. It has a pool. It's in kind of like a complex. The bed is terrible, though. It's a small room. But it's $400 a month, right? And all your utilities are there. And listen, this is just from Airbnb. I'll have my code down below. You do your research. If you could bring this number down, you increase your savings on the taxes, and your net income will look bigger, which can, in the future, help you get a loan. So if you think about it, New York taxes are hurting you from getting a loan because they're reducing your net income. And by doing this, it can just open up doors for you. Now, what are the other expenses? The flights, okay? And we'll get to the car. We'll get to the car soon, but let's talk about getting between the states. How do we fly efficiently? Because the average American consumer, traveler, probably spends $250, $300, $400 a flight. To me, that is insane. If you compare two people making the same income and one of them is spending $400 on a flight to another state, I get it if you're going to Europe. The best I found to Greece was like $700. It doesn't get better than that, I get it. I get by on $40 flights using Spirit Airlines between New York and Texas at least. So from New York to Texas with Spirit Airlines, just bringing a personal item, okay, no luggage. No luggage. However, your first flight moving to a new state, I do recommend you bring a luggage, and I did. I actually bought two. I had no education on what I was doing, right? It was my first time. I brought 2 luggages, and I ended up returning one because I started getting into a lot of spiritual processes, and I wanted to lower my weight as a person. I wanted to become lighter. And so I realized I don't even need a luggage. Let me bring one back. I want to reduce my weight. It makes it easier to move. I want to be mobile. And so it aligns with spiritual and capitalist values to be more efficient as a person, right? Objectivist values. But anyways, $40. Now your first flight, if you're bringing a luggage, I have to restart this. I made a number mistake. So my flight was actually $80, but you can get it down to 40. Okay, which is a great price. If you're flying on $40, that's pretty amazing. That's like a couple train tickets to Manhattan. It's like going there twice, back and forth twice. To get to Manhattan on the LIRR is like $20 back and forth. That's basically 2 train rides. If you could get it to 40, but base price is 80, okay? If you're just booking like a normal person on Spirit Airlines and you're going with this, okay, which is free. If you're bringing a luggage, it goes up to 120. Which is okay. And this is rough estimates. I'm actually being a bit liberal on the price here. I should probably be a little more conservative and say 150 if you're bringing a luggage. Between New York and Texas. Now, for my flight to Cali, it's actually stopping in Texas, but that goes up to about, if you book ahead of time, okay, a one-way flight is like 120 without a luggage, just bringing this. So a two-way flight, I don't know, let's 120, 240, 250 on a two-way flight. And so the smart thing to do, and this is a mistake that I made, I came to New York too early, but there were also family events. What you would want to do, let's say you go to California for vacation, you would want to go in a smooth motion. You don't want to go New York, Texas, back to New York, and then California, back to New York, and then back. That's currently what's happening with me. It's no good. It's not efficient. Wasting money here. The smart thing to do would have been for me to wait to come back in May. That's when I'm seeing my girlfriend for her birthday. To see her for her birthday and then come back in June. I'm sorry. So I go from Texas to Cali, I see my girl, and then I come back to New York. That would be the ideal way to do it. Business residence, recreation, business residence. To go in that cycle, to make it as efficient as possible, as smooth as possible, single directions, not to be going back and forth all the time. And so in that way, okay, and I forgot to mention the reducing the cost. If you get a Spirit Airline credit card, okay, and you get it in person, I'm going to try this. I'm going to make a video about trying this. I'm going to get the credit card, and I'm going to go to LaGuardia Airport in person because you avoid certain taxes. They throw like a $20 tax for ordering online. If you get the ticket in person, that tax disappears. So I want to see if I could get it for $40. We have another 30 minutes. So anyways, if you could do it on $40, you're going from New York to Texas, $40, Texas to California, $40, and then California to New York, here you're going to have to pay the big price of like $120. But you know what? That 120 is much better than going back and forth and paying about $250, right, or $240. So if you do it like this, it makes a lot more sense. 40, 40, 80, 80 plus 120, $200 in total travel expenses, just flying, $200, and you got to go to New York, Texas, California, and back to New York, right? From New York to Texas, California, back to New York, $200 right there, right, if you get the credit card. Now, maybe you're like me, and you're not a big spender. Honestly, I was originally trying to go for high deductions, and I realized that that's really counterproductive towards getting things like a loan, right? At this stage of my life, the first priority should be to get a loan, to get a mortgage, to get a income-producing property. You want to do that as young as possible. After that, leverage all the expenses you want until you decide, okay, I want to try to get another one. So you actually want your income to be higher, in my opinion, when you're young. You want to state the highest income and not any deductions, because that's going to help you get a mortgage and it's all going to pay back in the future. That's the way I see it, and America runs on free money. I've talked about this. That's really the only way people can get ahead today, unfortunately, in the American market. But anyways, maybe you're like me, you don't like to spend. That's fine. Leverage your necessities on your Spirit Airlines credit card. So as I understand, Spirit Airlines is a MasterCard. And Airbnb accepts MasterCards, including credit cards, as I understand. I haven't tried this yet, but this is how I understand it. If you hook up your Spirit Airlines credit card to your rent, and your rent is $4,200, right? Already you're putting $4,200 on that card, expenses that you can't escape. So that's going to rack you up points, and you may be able to get some free flights. And then putting all your other spending, leveraging all that other spending on that card. I don't know, how much more do you spend in a given year? For me, it's mostly investing. When I get paid, I keep a couple hundred in the bank account. Everything else gets invested. That's how I roll. I live very minimum, and it's a good way to live. So with that said, I don't have much expenses, but you could leverage your rent, you could leverage your flying, book with the Spirit Airlines credit card, and your groceries, right? I pay $30 a week in groceries when I'm in Texas, not in New York. I try to leverage my expenses here by not having any. My groceries for the year, while I'm in Texas, so for 6 months, if I need to be there for 6 months, I actually might only have to go for 5 months if I can end up going to Greece with my family for a month. I'll do anything to leverage my time. Also, I haven't been there in like 10 years. It's been a very long time. But anyways, that comes out to about $5,000 that you almost need to pay. You put that on the Spirit Airlines credit card, and then you mitigate these costs. And I can't give you exact numbers because it kind of depends on how much you spend. I don't know what the points are and how they calculate, and that would be way too complicated to go into. I'm just here to give you the foundation, the fundamentals of how this system of flag theory works. If you want to go calculate the points, you can go ahead. But I'm saying you might be able to get a price structure that looks something like this, and that's highly efficient. You're going between 3 states for the price that some people pay just to go to one state, or maybe just for a one-way flight if they're going to Florida for like to go to the beach or something for a week. Also, you save a lot on Airbnb by doing long-term rent. So having it planned like this makes a lot of sense. You want to do everything, condensed together, not going back and forth and splitting it up. That's not efficient. That's extra costs. So now, what about the car? What do we do about the car? So I bought my first car in Texas, okay? I literally went to a private lot and I bought the cheapest car there. It was $1,400. It was a Toyota Camry 1997. And I loved it. I don't care about paying a high price for a nice car. I just need to get around. I don't even know anyone in Texas. What do I care what kind of car I'm driving? I just need a car. So $1,400, all fees included, license plate mailed, everything. And in Texas, you need to pay for the right to drive on the road, which is based on the weight of your car. I actually like that. That's kind of like, privatization. It's a fair way to do it. Okay, it makes sense. But anyways, let's talk about the car and the expenses associated. So $1,400, right, base price to get a car. Just to get a car that works. I never had a problem with it. I never had to do an oil change or anything. It worked fine. Base price, I'm not going to talk about gas, but insurance, for me, insurance came out to $150 a month. Okay. Now, you have a few options here. For me, I only needed the car for a short period of time, and I got like very important work done that required hundreds of miles of driving. I almost went into Louisiana from Houston. Like, I had to go to a city near the border. So crazy driving. It was a long road trip. I'm happy my girlfriend was there with me. Otherwise, it would have been insane. It was just hours of driving because of all the real estate sites we have across Texas, and Texas is a big state. So $150 a month in insurance. These are the costs we're dealing with, okay? Now, what do you do when you need to come back to New York, let's say? Well, you could put it in self-storage for $50 a month. So if you're doing $50 a month for, let's say, 6 months, right? So 50 times 6, what does that come out to? 300, I believe. So you're paying $300 to have that car stored for half the year. Now, in terms of insurance, you have a few options here, and I went with neither of them. I just sold the car, and I'm hoping to just get a better long-term solution, like a Tesla or something, and maybe even drive to New York. I don't want to do that, though. That might be more expensive than flying if you use my method. Or maybe just try to survive without a car. Just don't do a car. I'm about to become a software engineer. I don't know what that future is going to look like. Maybe I won't need a car. That would be the best case scenario, right? If you could take a bus to the grocery store or walk there, best case scenario, don't get a car. Avoid the car. It's a big expense, and it's going to hold you back when banks are looking at your papers and they see all these expenses. If you're young, you want to maximize the income. But if you're getting a car, if you need a car, right, you absolutely need the car. What you could do is get another car in New York, or if your parents can give you a car, to put it on the same policy, never close the policy out, and so you're still using the insurance when you come back. You have the car in self-storage, you're paying $300 for the year, assuming 6 months, paying $50. And you could leave your luggage in there too, right? All your stuff, you could leave it in there. And if you don't have a car, you could put it in self-storage as well for $12 a month. Get a 5x5 space, put your luggage there. My landlord offered to do it for free. Originally, he said $10, but then he's like, don't worry about it. So I'm very thankful for that. And I'm gonna keep renting out that place because it's just an amazing deal that I get. So if you could get another car in your other state that you go to, like New York, wherever you go to, wherever your parents are, and you're gonna be leveraging that. You're gonna be living with your parents for half the year so you don't have to pay rent, for as long as you can stay there legally for tax purposes. So if you have another car there, you could just put that on the insurance policy, you take the other car out, and you never have to close the insurance. This is a long-term solution. This is if you believe you're going to be driving for the rest of your life, and you want to maximize your credibility on insurance, because eventually this rate will go down. If you're a good driver and all of that, eventually this rate might go to $100 a month, right? So eventually that rate might go down. That's a long-term solution, in which case there would be a savings, or you can close it out. But then when you start it back up, they might raise the rates to $200. So it's something you need to balance there. But I'm giving you a solution: self-storage, either or selling the car, right? There's a couple things you could do. Having another car, keeping it on the same policy. There's a few things to do. I didn't want to hassle with it. I'm just like, okay, I'm new to this. I don't need the car anymore. I'm just going to sell it. I sold it to my neighbor, actually. My neighbors helped me fix my car. I got in a small little thing. They helped me fix my car. I fixed it myself. It was crazy. Crazy time in Texas. Okay, a lot of crazy stories. Maybe I'll tell them one day. But those are the options that you can do. Now, I think it's time we talk about the American Tourister underseater. Okay, and I'll have a link down below to this. So I already showed you that it could fit a computer. Okay, so that's already off the list. But let's talk about necessities before I open it up. Insane. We don't have a lot of time here, but my video cut out literally when I took out all my stuff to show you guys what fits in here. But I could promise you all the stuff on the table fits in here. And maybe I'll even put it back to show you guys. So you already know the computer fits. I already showed you the computer. Let's talk about the necessities. That's if you're doing long term. But if you're doing short term, you only want to bring, I would say, 2 outfits. 1 suit, that's going to be what you're wearing. You want to wear the heaviest thing. If you need a jacket, wear the jacket, okay? Wear the jacket over the suit. I'm just saying. If you're going for short-term travel, otherwise maybe have a jacket there, right, in your Texas luggage. So 2 outfits, 1 suit, 1 pair of yoga clothes, 2 pairs of pajamas. So now, what are some other necessities? Okay, I want to put these back where I got them, just so you guys know that that fits there. What are some other necessities? You need shampoo and you need body wash, right? Instead of bringing these big, bulky, bottles of shampoo and body wash, just stick to bars. I switched to these because I wanted to turn to a more natural alternative. Even my toothpaste is herbal toothpaste from Isha Life. I just want to shout that out because it's great toothpaste, okay? It's all natural. I use Dead Sea Mud and Neem body wash. This is from Aspen K Naturals. I'll have a link to them down below. I got it off Amazon. And then this is Earthy Sapo, which is bar shampoo, completely natural, all natural, completely. Now, if you need to bring liquid, okay, because I use neem oil on my face and my hair, you could just pour it into one of these, right? Legally, you can't bring this on a carry-on or a personal item, but you can bring these. So you just pour it into these. And, you could bring liquids in this. And this is a solution to that. And these aren't that big, right? So you really don't need that much. If it's a week thing, you really don't need that much. Now on top of that, things that I use in my everyday lifestyle, because if I didn't compare this plan to my everyday lifestyle, it would be pointless. It would prove false, that it doesn't work. It would only work for some people. And so things that I use every day, neem and turmeric every morning. After my yoga practice, I make ashwagandha and shilajit. I mix it with hot chocolate. And that's something that I have every day as a routine. So just to add that in there, that fits along with all the other stuff. Everyday outfits. I gotta get these cuffed. I just bought these. These blue ones, I've had them forever. They look professional and they're super comfortable. Like, they can fulfill multiple things, and that's the whole point. The premises behind your everyday clothes. I'm trying to give you the foundation. What is the foundation behind it? The fundamentals. Your everyday clothes should enable you to do a variety of things that you need to do in your life. Rather it's going to a business meeting, relaxing, doing yoga, whatever it is. And then 3 shirts for everyday clothes. I really started to adapt that kind of lifestyle, wearing clothes like this, being much more open. That's just after going to Texas, doing a lot of spiritual work on myself. I started to adapt that kind of lifestyle and away from suits. But 3 shirts here for everyday clothing. A pair of pajamas, right? This also works for workout clothes, right? Maybe you could bring 1 more pair. I'm sure I could get 1 more pair to fit. You might also want to bring a swimsuit. I forgot to mention that. And then yoga clothes. And that's pretty much everything that I had in here. And a pair of flip-flops. I wear flip-flops pretty much every day. I love to wear flip-flops. It's just so much more comfortable. And back here, I have my chargers. I don't know if I mentioned this yet. Oh, also underwear and socks. I don't need to show that. But I don't know if I mentioned this. But why did I pay $70 for this? Because it fits perfectly within the slot. Because legally, like business-wise, it's free. Okay? By the perfect standards. It fits the standards perfectly. And so that's worth a lot of money. Because you can maximize your space. And that's very important when you're dealing with such a minimalism. It's very important that you can maximize that space when you're trying to travel as frugally or as cheaply as possible. And that's basically the American Tourister underseater, okay? And let me just show you, not only does it have wheels, but it also has this. So that's pretty good. Listen, I promise you, I originally folded this up and rolled them, but I'm in a rush to get to work. I just want to show you that it can fit. Trust me, if I had more time, I'd be folding these as they originally were. But I gotta get to work. So I'm just gonna put them in here to show you that it all fits. I guess in a way I'm kind of doing a review here of this bag. All right, close enough. Listen, if I folded these up and rolled them, I promise you all this stuff was in there. And it fits with the computer on top. You saw me take the computer out. I just want to make sure I'm clarifying. But yeah, I mean, that's the bag, and it's amazing. So I hope I covered all the points. One last thing that I want to mention before this video ends is that you should plan your travel accordingly to the climate. So for example, I want to travel to Texas in the winter, which is what I did. I left in November. That was because of tax purposes. My accountant said you got to get there by December. So November 15, I flew to Texas and I started that journey. I was very nervous, but I'm happy I did it because I learned a lot from it. And now I feel more confident going into bigger things, right? Taking this to a bigger scale. Can I live between 2 countries, right? That's where the question goes. Can I be even more free than I already am right now? You should always be thinking about that. But you want to consider your climate. I live on a commission basis, and so climate is very important to me because climate can affect your efficiency and how well you do in your work, how much you can produce. And so being in very stable weather in Texas, right, during the winter, 60 to 70 degrees, while New York was like 30 degrees, is very beneficial for your work ethic. It can help you do more work. So as someone that makes money on a commission basis, that's very important to me, because just getting another deal done can make the difference of, $30,000 or something. So to me, that's very important. It's something to consider, to be in New York during the summer, to be in Texas during the winter. And most of the tax-free states are in good environments, right? Good climates as well as low-tax countries. There's a lot of Latin countries that are great. That's for another episode, okay? I've done my time of study of different countries that you can use. But once you learn how to do I have it here? No, it's gone. Okay. Once you learn how to go between the states, right, you could bring it to a bigger thing. It can just help you learn more and continue moving forward. So once again, my name's Vasily. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you guys back next time.